Thank you for sticking around, of course. So today's topic is well. I know what is well? Like, were we talking about a water well? Like, what is well? I know you're probably expecting a long topic or whatsoever, but well kind of speaks on staying. Well, this isn't going as planned, but I'm gonna just stick around and just see what God does, right? So for me and my story is I'm currently not where I want to be. I'm in my waiting season, waiting for God to, pull off this big miracle, right? Or pull off this dream that I've created for myself, right? And it's not as easy as it sounds. A lot of people say, oh, in this market, not gonna be honest, a lot of people are saying, oh, like, how's the job market going? All this extra stuff. And I'm like, it could be better, but, keeping high hopes, right? They'll be like, don't worry, you'll be fine. Just wait. Wait and do what? That's literally like my go-to, wait and do what, right? Well, I'll say that was my go-to beforehand. But now that I've, created this relationship with God and built it, it kind of looks now where though I'm waiting, I'm not necessarily like physically waiting, right? So let's start from the beginning, right? One thing I would really like to address with you all is the fact that in that waiting season, the enemy kind of like works. Now you're like, what does that mean, right? So when I say kind of works, he likes to speak in stillness where like you're just there. You're not busy. You don't have a lot going on in your brain, right? In your mind. So he kind of like whispers, you're not going to get the job, or, oh, you're not going to be where you want to be, or, just cultivate all these lies, right? But in those times, to me personally, I feel like those are the best times to like, trust in God, like, oh yeah, God's definitely working. If the enemy's attacking, God's surely working. Because one thing the enemy likes to slow you down, right? He can't stop you, but he'll like to put or whisper these things to make you second guess yourself, right? Question yourself or question, like, is this the best thing to do? So that's really my first thing that I want to address. And some examples that I have is, for example, God, I'm going to say God, I'm so sorry. But the enemy kind of told me, back when I was in school that I wasn't going to graduate. Kid you not, I was in class and a person had came up to me saying, yeah, we don't think you're going to graduate. You're not going to graduate on time. You don't have the momentum to cross that stage, right? And I'm like, why would a professor tell you such a thing, right? Crazy. But then he likes to use certain people in that stillness where like I'm just chilling, relaxing, just vibing, and some randoms are gonna be like, yeah, you're not gonna graduate. Crazy. And that kind of put me in a place and had me questioning myself, right? Because again, the enemy can't stop you, but he'll try to slow you down. And I was like literally second guessing everything. Like, is this major right for me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I smart enough? Am I who I say I am? Right? Just questioning yourself. Or another time when I wasn't doing so good in the class, and literally, and it's the crazy thing, it's always the professors, right? Because they know everything. And that's how the enemy likes to use. He'll pull someone who knows everything and just put that doubt in you. I remember I was in this class, I was taking my final, and once I was done with the final, a professor basically told me like, yeah, you passed, but I didn't think you were going to pass. I thought you were going to fail. What? What do you mean by that? Like, I kid you not, after that meeting, I was like, what do you mean that you thought I was going to fail? As a professor, you should always have high hopes that your students are going to pass, or at least try to work with them to help them, pass and so on, and so on. But no, he was like, yeah, I thought you were going to fail. Like, I thought you were going to have to retake this class, and like, I was going to see your face again. By the goodness of God, I passed that class and was done. But that's how the enemy works, or again, just in that stillness, you're just hearing things like, oh, I'm not going to pass. I'm not going to do great. I'm going to just be terrible and so forth. And again, those type of things, when those things happen, I want you to remember that means God's working. Again, like I said, I'm going to continuously say it. The enemy can't stop what God has planned for you, but he surely can slow it down or attempt to, right? So in that, now we done talked about how the enemy works. Now that you know the thing that could happen, let's help you navigate what to do in that waiting season. For example, how I navigate my waiting season, my number one thing is volunteering. I love serving, right? If you don't have a church, a local church, try volunteering at dog shelters or helping those in need and so forth. So right now, what I like to do is I volunteer at the Well. And if you don't know, now you know about the Well. So come on through. We're always welcoming new people in. So at the Well, I like to volunteer on the events team where we have, multiple events from men's night, women's gathering, and so forth, where I like, use the skills that I have and or try to learn new skills within that on that team. And also when you join a team and you start volunteering, you also meet new people and you get to network, right? Not a lot of people know that. You don't only just go because you enjoy it, but you also get to meet new people, learn new skills, and so forth. And that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do. Another thing is hobbies. What's something you've been meaning to do, but you haven't done? From sky jumping. I said sky jumping. Did I say sky jumping? Skydiving. Skydiving to just artwork. For me right now, I really, really, really enjoy working and drawing, right? Beforehand, it's not something I really enjoyed doing, but now that I've had the opportunity in this waiting season, of course, I'm now able to lurk and see the things that I really didn't like to do, but turns out I actually like to do it and so forth. Another thing is personal time. When you are constantly on the go and you're constantly at work, you don't really get time to yourself, right? It was literally earlier today. I was watching this, this show, Love is Blind, LOL, with one of my friends. And one thing that I noticed from one of the couples was that he would come home and he'd just be tired to the point where he can't even speak to his wife because he's just mentally just exhausted and doesn't want to do anything, just want to be at home and just nothing. So in this season of waiting, in the season of you don't have much to do, take this time to get to know you. What do you like to do? What don't you like to do? Do solo dating. That's something I personally do and enjoy, where I just go out, go to this nice restaurant, or even McDonald's, some chill, or Chick-fil-A, if you're not feeling McDonald's. If you bougie like that, because trust, clock it, I know. So one thing I like to do, go get me a nice little meal from a restaurant, Cheesecake Factory, Chick-fil-A, sit in the car and just relax, where I'm just just figuring out what I like to do, or going to the beach, or, right now it's winter time, so I don't recommend the beach, because you don't want to get a cold or anything. Or just going to the park and just sitting and just enjoying the earth, enjoying God's creation, right? And just figuring out exactly what I like to do. If not that, go roller skating. Pick up something you thought you never liked and see if you actually like it. Because I feel like food. You'll sit here and say, you know what? I don't like Oreos, right? But have you had Oreos? No. So how can you say you don't like it if you never had it, right? So take this time to figure out what you like and don't like and add that to your list so when people meet you or when you're networking, you have something to talk about, something random. Oh, I just recently found out I enjoy doing research on rockets. That could be your opener. And trust, that can open a lot or start a lot of conversations, believe it or not, because trust, I've been there, where I'm literally in an interview and I'm chit-chatting. They're like, oh, what's something you've recently done? Oh, something I've recently done. I actually started, knitting. And I believe, yeah, crocheting. And they're like, really? Oh my gosh, how do you crochet? How do you like it? And that started a whole conversation. And though I didn't get the job, of course, that sucks. But I actually created a network with this individual, whereas I probably wasn't going to be able to get this one. But I can definitely hit her up and say, hey, I'm interested in interviewing for this, this opportunity. What do you think? That conversation opened the door with her where we can now have personable conversations. She can help me navigate whether within this job or within another opportunity that she's aware of, right? And then next is emotional practices within situations of the enemy chatting. Because I really want you all to really understand that, hey, the enemy really will try you, right? So in the midst of all this, and you're out and you're just hanging out and getting to know yourself like we discussed prior, and you hear the enemy chatting, I would say and recommend, don't listen. Try to find something to reduce that background noise, like I like to call it. So, for example, it was one day where I was in my car and I was just overthinking. And one thing I tend to do, and I'm gonna be honest, I'll start to think and then I'll just go into a wormhole. You feel me? Like, I'll just go in circles, circles, and circles till I'm bottled up on the floor just crying, right? What I would say, try to find something in that moment to help distract you. One thing I like to do that I started doing is, if I'm not going to the word, trying to find that fact. Because if you want to hear from God, go to that word. He created the word. That's him right there and then. Go into the word and figure out, did God say I'm unsuccessful? I'm going to be unsuccessful? If that's not in the word, then that's how you know that's not God speaking to you. If not going to the word, I kind of go to TikTok, to be quite honest, to help, get myself out of that weird vibe the enemy didn't try to put me in. And I try to find something that brings me joy. So TikTok kind of brings me joy. Or another thing I like to do is I like to hit up a friend and say, hey, you know what? Right now, I need to pick me up. I am going through a circle. The enemy trying me now. And I need someone to help just uplift my spirits. Trust. If that's really your friend will help out 100%. Because I've had multiple times where I've hit up my best friend and I'm like, girl, the enemy trying me now. And I need something. I need a pick me up. And she's like, all right, girl, what you need? We can hit up the mall, or do you want to grab a bite to eat and we can talk it out? Where in that talking it out, she's actually being that person God has sent to me to help me out and so forth. And as well, I would like for everyone to know, in this waiting season, stay still and let God work. He has your back. I like to see this as the unseen before the seen, right? And that kind of talks on, right now you don't see God working, but he is working. So enjoy that stillness, okay? One thing that speaks on this from the word, of course, because we got to have the Bible to back it up, right? So Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him and he will make your path straight, right? So what does that mean? Make my path straight. In the midst of the stillness, he's working. He's making those crooked paths straight. So when you step into it, you're not going to have no troubles, right? Another example that I can think of that kind of speaks on this, where there was a opportunity that I was hoping for, right? I was like, I really want to work here. I really want to do this. I went into the interview process, and I think it was a 3-panel or 2-panel interview process, and I didn't get it. And you're like, dang, that sucks, right? In the moment, I was like, yeah, that sucks. What? I'm the best candidate out here. Let's be for real. Look at me, right? How can you not want to hire this pretty face? But Then afterwards, I get a call, and probably I think it was like a week or two later, I get a call, and they're like, one of the candidates, or not the candidates, one of the interviewers really liked you, and he wants you to come back in, but for another position. I'm like, what? Huh? But you just said you ain't want me. And you see how that works, where in that background of, in the front end, I'm thinking, dang, I just lost another opportunity. I'm not going to be great. Again, the enemy talking, the enemy trying to work. Whereas I get a call and they're like, we want you to come in for just another opportunity. Where like I wasn't being denied, right? Sometimes you think, this opportunity, dang, God denied me. Nah, it wasn't that God denied you. He just opened the door for you. The door was now opened. Now you have the ability to introduce yourself, meet this person, and then in the background, he's like, all right, you did the first step. Now I'm going to finish it out for you. Whereas the door opened, now I can move into another direction, God's direction, right? So that's a perfect example, in my opinion, where it kind of like helps you. He's working. He's doing the work for you. He's making those paths straight. Now at this point, once it's done, everything's cultivated and put together. Now you all have to just walk in it, walk through that door that he opened, and let him do the rest. Okay? So the next topic, or not even topic, but moving forward, I want to speak on my life before I started trusting in God, and where I started figuring out, like, it's time to be still and just wait and let him do. Before this stillness, I was all over the place, quite honestly. I was going through burnout after burnout after burnout through days, weeks, to the point where my mom was like so concerned. It was one day I came back and I literally had an anxiety attack, believe it or not. And she was so worried. And I'm like, yeah, girl, life was life in at that time. And it was really then where I was like, all right, you know what? I really need to lock in with God and have him like navigate my world, especially this world that we're going through now. And again, I was going through anxiety attacks. I was stressed, depressed, and just ridiculous, right? But now I am calm as a horse. I am chillaxed. I'm vibing. I'm going through it. Why? Because I know God's working. I'm going through the unseen before the seen. I'm in that unseen moment where I don't see what he's doing, but of course I have the faith and I believe that he's doing what he said he's going to do, which is where I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have that 6 figure, because I may not have it now, but best believe it's going to come soon and y'all going to see it. Where I'm making the 6 figures and I'm just living the life God has planned for me, for the most part. And before we like end off, and move forward, I really want you all to know that God has your back, okay? Right now, like I said before, you're going through that unseen before the seen. And again, the unseen can last a week, 2 weeks, a month, so forth. But just know that God's working. As long as you stay still in him and trust him, it's going to come to pass, right? Exodus 14, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. And that's NIV. Like I said, the Lord will fight for you. So in that unseen, you're not seeing it, but in the back end, he's doing all the work for you. He's fighting for you. He's putting your name in rooms you didn't think was possible. Just like I said earlier, the interview was talking about me after the interview, talking about, yeah, you know what? We probably don't think she'll be good for this position, but she'll definitely be good for this one. My name was being spoken into rooms because, again, that was just an idea. He had to bring that to the hiring managers for that position and so forth. My name was being spoken about and I wasn't there. I didn't create that. God did. He created that thought. He placed that thought in that person's head and say, hey, I need you to move and put this person's name and speak to the next person who spoke to the next person. And now look at me, right? So just have that faith, have that belief that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And the enemy may talk, he may whisper, he may send people your way to put doubt in you. But remember, and I'm going to continue to say it, okay? He can't stop what God has planned for you, but he can try to slow you down, but he can't slow you down if you truly believe and have that faith in yourself, have that confidence in yourself, but also have confidence in God that he's going to work and make that dream come alive. All right? So, with that being said, if you need advice or you need help in figuring out how to have faith in God and, really trust in him, stay the path and continue watching. Within this season, season 1, I'm really going to be speaking on how to really trust in God in your stillness, how to navigate this world. I'm going to also be bringing people in where they're going to actually speak on their their adventures or their backstory, because I can talk, right? But it's also better to hear from other people's perspective and how they navigated the enemy chit-chat and how they navigated the stillness, how they navigated and got to where they are now, right? So stick around, and I hope you really enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next video, okay? So with that being said, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, like I said earlier, and share. You're in the position where you're going to help plant seeds in other people's lives by sharing these videos. So definitely share, okay? And with that being said, thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Your big sister is out. Bye.